Imagine that the job you had requested finally is yours. But now the problem is that you don't know Spanish, and you have limited time to learn it. If you hear this from someone, you will say, "What a crazy guy wants to learn a language in just a few weeks." And to tell you the truth, it seems impossible. But I tell you that language experts say that indeed a person can learn basic communication skills in just a few weeks, and also is able to master the basics of a language in a few months. For example, SPANSIH Tornado is training to learn the Spanish language, with more than 1,000 students around the world that give you faith that learning a new language like Spanish is very simple. And this is how we teach you in this great training. If you want to know more of the online course that makes foreigners want to learn to speak Spanish, the link is in the description of this video. With the basics that you can learn Spanish in a few weeks, you may not be able to fully understand the Spanish literature of Don Quixote de la Mancha, but I'm sure that you will be able to learn fast phrases and specific vocabularies that will help you get a job in an embassy or maybe with a multinational company, who knows. Learning the simplicities of the Spanish language, you'll practically have gained 80% of the language, so the remaining percentage depends on you and how much you dedicate to practicing. Most people that learn a new language find it easy adapting to the language that they are just learning, because in a week or less they are able to establish a short relationship with a native speaker, such as introducing themselves, say where they live, asking for certain things, etc. That's why I think it's necessary to share some tips with you, so you can learn Spanish or any other language in a very short time. The first one is to start. Traveling constantly for work around the world where you speak a language different from yours forces you to find faster ways to learn the language, always trying to keep the conversation as fluid as possible. For example, my case is that having Arab and Brazilian roots, in 1997 I traveled to Jordan to visit my grandparents, so I decided to stay with my sister for a few months. In those months, we learned to speak the Arabic language fluently. Also, because I was the daughter of Brazilian mother, I had the opportunity with my brothers to learn to speak the Portuguese language, because together with the Spanish, it was the language we must listen to at home. But we also have the case of Martin Brandon, a plastic surgeon who always traveled to different parts of the world because of his job. So in a short period, he learned 8 languages, including English, French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Mandarin Chinese, Dutch, and German. The Venezuelan actor Edgar Ramirez, in his childhood, had to travel all over the world because his father was a Venezuelan diplomat, so he came to learn 4 languages, almost at par. For example, in the United States, he knew English, being in Australia, he knew German, in Canada, he met French, and in Venezuela, he learned Spanish. Many people find it hard to open their mouth to learn a new language that can be attributed to the fact that they panic to make mistakes in the language they intend to learn. So they prefer not to open their mouth. That is why they don't get progress. You know, if you're not willing to open your mouth, the learning progress will be slower. Returning to the history of Brandon, he commented that the first language he set out to learn was French, which took him more than a year and a half, but since the second language was Spanish and the others were faster in only a matter of weeks. But how did he do that? Well, Brandon's secret was to create a kind of script which would serve him to answer simple questions that made him strange natives of the place where he was. Note that the phrasebooks and online tutorials are useful at first, because according to some experts, it gives you the confidence to be able to hold basic conversations with natives. So this would be the first step to learn a language. From my own experience as a polyglot, I can tell you that the biggest barrier people have when learning a new language is lack of confidence. But as you go talking and you're practicing, and that will make your language better and become fluent. Practice makes the man. It's so simple. If you don't practice what you have learned from the language, you simply don't progress, and you may even forget what you have learned. All people feel panic when they start learning a language, and it is normal that we listen as Tarzan. If so, all at the beginning when we learn a language we speak as Tarzan, but we are refined with practice. Let's see how Tarzan was practicing.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yes, thank you. It's a lovely heartbeat. It's very nice.
It's very nice.
Oh, thank you. I can't do a thing with it in this humidity, though. It's... you do speak? And all this time I thought you were just a big, wild, quiet, silent person being... why didn't you tell me? I mean, I must say I'm very curious as to who you are. I mean, I'd love to...
Tarzan. Tarzan.
Tarzan. Oh, I see.
Oh, I see. Tarzan. Oh, I see.
No, 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 no. I'm Jane.
No, 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 no. I'm Jane.
No, no. Jane. Tarzan. Jane.
Jane.
Exactly. Clayton!
Clayton.
Extraordinary.
But as I told you, if you don't take risks to make mistakes, I will give you the courage to talk with others in the language you learn. Unfortunately, your learning progress will be much slower than those who do dare and overcome their fears, as Tarzan did. I remember that when I started learning Arabic, at first it sounded a little like Tarzan, and some people thought that was funny because they laughed in my face. I came to use words they are not very used to in there, but that never demotivates me. To the contrary, I use that to improve because I felt like a commitment with myself. So I examined the phrases that I was pronounced wrong and made people laugh of me. I asked them how to say it in the right way, and I corrected them. I practiced in front of the mirror until it really worked out, and that's how I was doing with the whole language until finally I learned to speak fluently and did not sound like Tarzan anymore. So proudly, I can tell you that in almost 45 days I already knew how to speak the language in 70%. So to continue learning and master it 100% should be practice, practice, and keep practicing. The other tip is to immerse yourself. Living, eating, and sleeping with a language helps you to master it. If you want to master 100% of a language, you need to immerse yourself in it. The more you read, listen to the radio, and talk to people in the language, the faster you will master it. For example, a very easy technique is to memorize certain simple phrases for situations that you consider key, such as when you go to a restaurant or to the airport, etc. At Middlebury College, students must complete all extracurricular sports, theater, etc. in the language they are learning. Many diplomatic institutes also promote this way of learning a language. With the daily practice, in a few weeks, the ease and natural development to reach conversations in that language is reached. The best way to practice is with oneself in the mirror. It is also recommended to do it with native speakers, as this will correct mistakes, and with practice, fluency is achieved. There are many factors involved when learning a new language. You must do it not only with your mind, but also with the heart. Feel it and live it, even if you're at home. At least on internet, You can enter groups or forums of the language that you have to learn, so that you can practice with natives and other people in your same condition. For example, in the SPANSIH Tornado course, there is a Facebook group and another WhatsApp where students can interact dynamically with the teacher and with each other so that they can ace the Spanish language in the best way possible. The practice is what really gives you competence and the ability to speak fluently the language. A person who is learning doesn't have the perspective and wisdom to correct his own mistakes. So he needs someone to take him on the right path, such as a native speaker of the language or someone with years of experience, and that you will surely get in the most complete training to learn Spanish, which is SPANSIH Tornado. The link will be in the description of the video. Ask the person you're speaking with to correct you, and also make sure they correct your pronunciation and grammar. But to be honest, you shouldn't be worried so much about the grammar in the first phase of learning. The most important thing is to learn the language, learn the simplicities of it, and then concentrate on grammar. In this way, you will understand grammar better, because learning the language you will first have a greater context, so when it is time to learn a rule, it will be much easier to understand why it is said or used in that way. It is necessary, and I would even say it is fundamental, to have someone to tell you you are doing well. This will motivate you to continue on the right path. As you learn, make sure you use the media already existing in the language, such as the media, radio, TV, music, movies, etc. Also, if you're starting, I advise you to start reading children's books in the language. Following these tips that I just gave you, I am sure that you can have a basic notion of any language. Now, I also want to tell you that you try to set realistic goals, such as mastering the language completely in a time of 6 months or something like that. If you put yourself in 30 days, you want to master the language, you may be disappointed if you don't succeed. So give yourself time. Motivate yourself with the main reason that led you to learn the language, so keep them always present. With what you have just learned here, it is possible that you have basic knowledge of the language in a very short time, such as engaging in a colloquial conversation or a work position. That is possible. But to master the language in 100%, you must practice a lot, and of course you can do it in less than 3 months, but depends on how much time you dedicate to it. So, you already know that to achieve total mastery, you need to practice a lot. Remember that we always bring valuable content for you that you're learning to speak Spanish or a new language. So, to keep you always informed of our content, subscribe to the channel by crushing the red button and activate notifications of it. Also, share this video so that more people benefit from it. And you know, if you have any question, leave it in the comment, or maybe can you also tell us in the comments what is your special trick to learn a language in a short time?